How are we doing today, guys? We have an absolute banger today going over Nio Stock and IWM as it pertains to AMC and GameStop. So make sure to stay the full length because IWM is set up in an absolutely nasty manner. And this should drag up the rest of the small cap stocks, as this is the small cap or meme stock index, right? This thing carries a lot of your smaller cap companies like AMC, like GameStop, like Nio. So I would anticipate if you do see this swing high to make that all-time high, guys, I do expect tomorrow, I've been having too much chocolate milk. I do expect next week to be green if you carry through this bullish momentum. However, let's get into Nio because there's so many different levels on this chart to talk about. So let's start with the most important one. Nio Stock closed below on the daily, the 200-day EMA, sitting directly at 554. Now, what's important about that? You've now done it 3 days in a row. 3 trading days and 1 full week below the 200-day EMA is not a good look, as you closed and bounced right here off of it perfectly back in August. And what did that do, right? That bounce off of the 200-day EMA launched the stock. Acted as a beautiful, I got to zoom out here. Acted as a beautiful catapult to make new local highs, approximately 55% off the 200-day EMA. So what we're looking for, if you're a bull on Nio, which I'm assuming if you are here, you are, what we're looking for is this doji, because you close with a green doji. Typically, dojis are indecision candles, right? The bulls and the bears can't make up their mind, but when it comes at the end of the trend, then it is likely to reverse. You saw it back here. Whoops. You saw it back here. That is a doji. You saw it up here. That is a doji, right? So you saw this trend. You saw the bulls running out of powder, right? And the bears took advantage of that. Absolutely smacked you down. So what I'm looking for off of this doji is I'm hoping and I am looking for a green Monday open, because if you do not get a green Monday open, guys, you are looking down to this gap fill at 515 or 514 in a absolute hurry, because you have the 9-day EMA absolutely trailing behind you. And typically when you see the 9 and the 200 cross, well, what does that indicate? What does that mean, right? That is telling you that the short-term trend down is more powerful than your long-term trend up. And when you zoom out, historically, this cross has been freaking phenomenal. Freaking fabulous, right? Up 10% from the previous cross up, and you have not crossed it down since. So crossing that would be a bearish sign for Nio, but I would still long-term be bullish. Now, what's another reason I want to get a bounce here on Monday? If you get a bounce here on Monday, guys, what you'll see is price gravitate towards this gap fill, sitting at about 659 and 711. Now, if you are able to fill this gap, find a higher high or higher low, then hopefully you can trade out of this channel. But these are one of the many scenarios that I expect Nio Stock to have. And if this is a true, I know we covered this in our last Nio video, if this is a true cup and handle, guys, you're going to find support off this 200-day EMA. You're going to flag out, right? Continue to flag out here until you find that breakout out of the cup and handle. And in case you don't know, the profit target off your cup and handy is you take the neckline, right? Neckline right here at 771, and then you take the length of your move from the bottom to the top, make it drop. You put it on top of your breakout, wherever that may be, right? It could just V-line from here. Wherever that breakout is, that's where you put the stem of the profit target from, and that takes you to about $15 to $16. Now, if this is a true cup and handy, you're going to see that play out. However, there's a very possible scenario here that you guys have to watch out for, that we all have to watch out for, right? And it's one that is, if this is a head and shoulders, right, a complex head and shoulders, you're getting your textbook breakdown right now from 560. And that textbook breakdown right now potentially, right, takes you down to 370 to 380. And now, although that's a technical higher low on the price, that is something to be careful for, because this is not looking good. You're not seeing that bullish reaction, right, off of a good earnings, a genuinely good earnings, and an amazing area to find your bottom. Talk about 560, 200-day EMA, your gap fill down here. Even if you make that gap fill, there's possibility you V-line up. But when you zoom out, guys, you see just how important this level is. 200-day daily EMA right here. Bounce off 560. Rejection off 560. Rejection off 560. Pump through it. Rejection, rejection, rejection. Bounce. And this trend line, I know I talk about it all the time. Rejection, huge rejection. I talk about it all the time. This trend line goes all the way back to IPO, guys. 560 is not a level you want to lose. So when you're talking about moon targets, I want to talk about Monday. I want to talk about tomorrow, right? What is most prevalent to what this stock is about to do? And I think the longer you delay here, the more bearish you get. You need a bounce Monday. Hopefully, if that does happen, you see this thing trail like GameStop and AMC is, lagging IWM. You should see this daily MACD begin to curl up and cross for the first time since back here, right? These were fake crosses as you showed weakness. But if this is bullish, right, you're going to see this cross for the first time since you saw that 8 to 10% move right here. And this markup. So that's what we're watching for on Nio Stock on the short term. Now on the long term, let's go to the weekly time frame, because you're doing something very important. You are holding the 50-day weekly EMA, and your volume trend is still pointing towards exhaustion. There's not been a clear, decisive move or thrust forward in any direction. So what I'm watching here is I'm watching the volume. I'm watching next week's close. This is still 1, 2, 3, 4, a full month, guys, in bearish volume and bearish candlesticks. So we're looking for the bottom. We're hunting for it, right? You close the week below 560. For me, that signals that if you do not reclaim this Monday, you're looking for downside. On the monthly time frame, you are still making significantly lower volume. And so on the monthly, I really like this look. You have significantly lower volume compared to your 3 white soldiers candlestick formation here. 1, 2, 3, candlestick cool down, candlestick cool down. So for me, I don't know when exactly the bottom is going to be in, but I do believe you're going to reverse here and make a higher high at some point, guys. But just mitigate your own risk. Do your own DD. This is not financial advice. All right. Let's get into the absolutely most exciting part about Nio Stock, and that is the quarterly MACD being close to curling up for the first time since June of 2020. Now, what happened in June of 2020 was you got that cross on the quarterly MACD. That confirms the flip on your macro chart, and what that basically did, right, was that ran you up 2,917%. And this is the exact same thing as AMC, as GameStop, as Open, right? A lot of these small cap stocks are primed in a way that if you can see this Thanos snap of an indicator, I am watching closely. Because just an example, just a great example actually, is HYMC, right? What happened once you got your quarterly MACD? You went to the freaking moon, 500% in 1 year, guys. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen on Nio Stock, but I think it's a good thing to reflect on the past and see if this stock has any kind of rhythm, right? I say rhythm because the stock market will rhyme, but it will not exactly repeat. And that's the message I want you guys to take away from that. HYMC though looks freaking amazing. Look at the ramp up in volume. As you come to this volume shelf right here, I would anticipate some kind of either rejection at $15 or $23, but not for this video. Let's get into IWM now. Nio looks amazing though. But before we do, wait, there's more. Nio Stock, you are about to cross the daily RSI band. And if you can see that, hopefully that can act as a bullish momentum as it did back here when you crossed your last time, right? You saw a cross on the daily RSI band. You saw a micro pump, right? 12%. Not the biggest thing. Big whoop. But that can just be one of the many, right? Maybe you get an RSI cross, and then you get your daily MACD cross. And those two things are some of my favorite momentum trading indicators. So if that happens, guys, I will be pounding the table on Nio. But in the meantime, IWM broke out of this falling broadening wedge and is going for its all-time high in absolutely nasty fashion, I mind you. So take that profit target. It's the width of the broadening wedge. That takes you to about $2.50, $2 off where you currently are. Now, if that rejects hard, we'll be watching it because that would confirm this double top. That would be bearish. We'll be looking for all sorts of different things. But when you go to the weekly here, guys, it tells the same story as GameStop. It tells me that this is a fake out breakdown, in my opinion, and that the bears are going to be trapped into a potential small cap short squeeze. And I say that because not only, guys, do you have this this absolutely insane weekly candle up 5.58%, but you engulfed your previous 3 days of trading, almost a full calendar month of trading, guys, in 1 week. And what's so significant about that is you also have the weekly MACD, my favorite trading indicator, curling up from your micro curl down. And I'll try to find another example of this. That's a good example. You had a cross down on the weekly MACD. You're, I'm assuming, in some kind of fear on the fear and greed index. And I'm sure everyone's saying, it's over, you're cooked. Next week, you have 8.74% candle. One of the largest candles in IWM's history in the last year. Just one example, right? The chart does this all the time. But on the short term, I'm bullish on IWM. On the long term, I'm bullish on IWM. And let me tell you why, right? You go to the monthly, you have a big, fat hammer candle, guys. That is insane. The fact that you closed the month in approximately 2 days. One trading day, I believe. Unless that's already done. Ha! You already closed the month. That's a beautiful candle to close, guys. In my opinion, that is the best case scenario for IWM. In fact, you saw this genuine ramp up in volume here for the bulls and a beautiful hammer candle. I beg you to look at the last time you got a candle like that that closed that high. I don't know the answer. That's a good example. It's a consolidation doji. So that's possible. But what's more important is not only did you retest your 9-day monthly EMA, you closed with higher volume, closing at the all-time monthly high. This is your highest monthly close on the small cap stock index ever. After consolidating in this range for 2 months. But what's more important is when you go to IWM on the weekly, I like to use TradingView because you get to see the RSI and it looks really nice. You can see here you are coming to the weekly RSI band for the first time since back here when you made your previous all-time high. Snapping that, right? Snapping that and getting above this downtrend for me would confirm that you are in a small cap bull market. And if that happens, guys, I anticipate you will enter the bull zone on the RSI or the oversold territory. And why do I think that, right? I'm going to go to your quarterly chart on IWM. And I'm going to display something that I've been talking about for quite some time, but now that we have the viewership for it, I think it's appropriate. You go to your RSI and you link it with the chart. IWM is a beautiful chart story of flat top resistances and V-line recoveries. And every single time on this stock's history that you've seen a flat top resistance and a V-line recovery, you've seen the all-time high, and you've also seen this thing run, like move like crazy, right? So you see an example here. This is the dot-com bubble. You saw a falling broadening wedge that had a flat top resistance. What did you do? You came all the way down, tested that, take that, break the flat line, retest the flat line, right? And that took you almost exactly to your profit target in '08 of $83. Now that is fascinating that you've established another flat top resistance. Knife. Absolutely disgusting price action. You create that retest, break it, right? And that takes you close to your COVID low. Close, right? Not quite, but close. That was oversold. Flatline resistance. You just cruise through this one, and I could so easily see it being like that this time around as well. But the moral of the story here, guys, is IWM is a story of flat top resistances and V-line recoveries. Now, what did you just have? Your V-line recovery, your retest, and this is your flat top resistance going all the way back to your previous bull run in 2021. What's going to be important here is, unlike 2021, you have the opportunity, much like 2008, right? This is why I mentioned that it's very much like this, in my opinion, is you have this ascending triangle on the quarterly RSI, this ascending triangle. Now, what happens once you break that ascending triangle? Well, you enter the bull zone on IWM in the quarterly time frame. You now have that very similar look in which, oh man, it looks so good, in which you had that ascending triangle, you broke out, retested, and boom, right now you're getting that move, hopefully, into the bull zone for the first time since 2018, guys. I mean, this run right here from 2016 to 2018, that is your most comparable moment. You ran 87% on a small cap index. And so when I say that, I think the future looks bright, right? The best is yet to come on these stocks. I say it because of this chart. This chart will play out, in my opinion. And when it does, I think a lot of people will be surprised to see the gains from stocks like GameStop, stocks like AMC, stock like Nio, right? So that is my coverage on Nio and IWM. It's a very important video, guys. If you guys enjoyed it, slap the subscribe button, like the video, share the video. We're trying to continue past 1,000 subs. Thank you guys all for getting us there. God bless. And remember, the best is yet to come, guys. God bless.